Well, you ready for part 2 of Forgotten Worm Techniques? Ready, running guns, time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, Todd here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101. Forgotten Worm Techniques part 2. This technique is interesting because it actually predates a very popular technique that everybody uses now. Anybody ever heard of shaky head fishing? Well, back in the old days, back in the 80s, 90s, we used to call that doodle socking. Now, doodle socking takes many different techniques. I mean, I know Don Ivino had a doodle socking technique that he used a bead in a bullet sinker and small 4 and 6 inch worms, and he called that doodle socking. Actually taking a jig head and threading it Texas style so it's weedless and shaking it as you're fishing it as a normal jig head, but you'll stop and you'll shake it. We called that doodle socking. Originally, the way I learned it when I was a kid was with a Texas rig. And that's basically when you cast it, let it hit the bottom, let it sit for a second, and you just shake your rod tip. Reel in just enough slack, and you just shake your rod tip, and as that worm sits on the bottom, it just quivers on the bottom. You're not trying to move it, you're just shaking it. And then you can work it a couple times, stop it, and shake it. Another way of doodle socking is when that worm hits the bottom and you go to pick it up. As soon as it gets to the top of how far you're going to pick it up, as soon as you give it slack, start shaking it as it reaches the bottom. It's not going to fall straight. It's going to go up, and it'll shake the worm as it's coming back towards you a little bit. So you're moving this 3 to 4 feet. That's about as far as you want to keep it, about 3 to 4 feet. I mean, you're not really bringing this rod tip way up here, okay? You're keeping it. You pick it up about 2 or 3 foot, so we'll say from like 10 o'clock to about 11 o'clock, and then just give it a few shakes as it falls. And once it hits bottom, you can shake it again. You're not moving it, you're just shaking it. We call it doodle socking. But as time went on, and everybody started coming out with the weedless jig heads and other types of jig heads and different hooks and everything else, they had their shaky head technique. I had to burst a bubble. We were doing that long before that. So it's not a new technique. It's just something new to make more money off of. That's really what it boils down to, something to make more money. But the doodle socking technique, again, it's on a Texas rig. You can do it slip sinker or as a peg sinker, either one. You can even do it with a jig head that you rig Texas style. I think most shaky heads are pretty much set up like that now. You rig it on Texas style. And you can, as far as worm styles, it's whatever you're comfortable with. All these styles are whatever you're comfortable with. Some techniques are better with a straight worm. I think this technique works better with a straight worm or possibly a ribbon tail. Now, ribbon tail worm is good for this kind of technique too because it just quivers. So, and it's also thinner. So it has a different action to it than a straight tail worm will. So basically this technique can work under any kind of conditions as far as your cover. It kind of works better if you have either brush or say rock. Grass, I'm not sure this is the best technique because a lot of times it gets hidden in the grass. So it's not really the best technique for grass. But brush piles, sucking down trees, or even rocks, great technique for that. That's all I have for that, guys. So until next time, remember, new techniques are trendy, but bass never change. May the Father bless you and keep you in Yeshua's name, and as always, fish on.